The stars were silent witnesses as the massive Celeran warships moved through space. Captain Drazkar stood tall on the bridge of his command ship, his gray skin reflecting the blue lights of the control panels. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the small blue planet on the main screen. "Another primitive world to add to our empire," he said to his second-in-command. "Prepare the standard message. Let these creatures know their new rulers have arrived." The Celeran Empire had conquered over 300 species across 12 galaxies. Not one had successfully resisted. Captain Drazkar saw no reason why this planet, called Earth by its inhabitants, would be any different. Admiral William Carter frowned at the giant alien ships, now visible through Earth's strongest telescopes. At 62 years old, he had hoped to retire before humanity faced its first alien contact. Now he stood in the underground command center beneath Washington, D.C., watching as the president and her advisors argued about how to respond. "We should surrender immediately," said one general, his face pale. "Look at the size of those ships. They could destroy us without trying." "No," said Lisa Hoffman, Earth's most respected diplomat. Her calm voice cut through the panic. "We don't know what they want. We must try talking first." President Eleanor Walsh nodded. "Lisa is right. We open communications, but we also prepare our defenses. Admiral Carter, what can we do if they attack?" Carter ran a hand through his short gray hair. "Not enough, Madam President. Our space weapons are limited, but we're good at improvising." He turned to Commander Frank Dawson, a younger officer with a reputation for creative thinking. "Frank, gather our best minds. I need options yesterday." Dawson nodded and left quickly, already making calls on his secure phone. When the alien message arrived, it was simple and cold. "People of Earth, you are now part of the Celeran Empire. Resistance is futile and illogical. Prepare for integration. Non-compliance will result in planetary sterilization." In the emergency meeting room, Lisa Hoffman studied the message translation. "They expect immediate surrender." "That's telling. They've never been refused." "Then let's surprise them," said Admiral Carter. "Lisa, keep them talking. Ask questions, request clarification, anything to buy us time." Lisa composed a careful response. "Greetings, Celeran visitors. We are honored by your contact and wish to understand more about your empire and the integration process. We request a meeting to discuss terms that would benefit both our peoples." On his ship, Captain Drazkar laughed when he received the human response. "They think they can negotiate. How amusing." Scientific officer Nick Sphere wasn't laughing. She had been studying Earth's transmissions. "Captain, these humans have an unusual history. They fight constantly among themselves, yet advance quickly. Their adaptability ratings are off our charts. All species say they are special before we conquer them." Drazkar dismissed her concerns. "But very well, I will humor them with a response. It makes the eventual conquest more satisfying when they realize how hopeless their situation is." Back on Earth, Admiral Carter watched as NASA Director Olivia Martinez presented her findings. "Their ships use a form of energy we've never seen before, but we've detected potential weaknesses in their shielding patterns." "Can we exploit that?" asked Carter. "Maybe," said Colonel Vincent Hughes, joining the conversation. The military strategist had been analyzing the alien ship movements. "They follow strict patterns. Too strict. They've never faced anyone who could truly challenge them, so they've grown predictable." President Walsh looked around the room. "We need more time. Lisa keeps them talking while we prepare everything we have." As the meeting ended, Commander Dawson approached Carter privately. "Sir, what are our real chances?" Admiral Carter watched the alien ships on the monitor. "Honestly, by conventional warfare standards, 0. So we won't fight conventionally." He smiled slightly. "Throughout history, humanity has been at its most dangerous when cornered. Let's hope these Celerans never read our history books." "Why's that, sir?" "Because if they had," Carter said quietly, "they would have known to run." 1 week after first contact, Small Accelerant ships landed in various locations across Earth. From each ship stepped alien scientists and soldiers, their gray skin and 4 eyes causing a mix of fear and wonder among the humans who watched from a safe distance. Scientific Officer Nick Sveer led the main assessment team. Tall and slender, with eyes that missed nothing, she moved carefully through a small American town. 2 soldiers followed her, weapons ready. "These buildings are primitive," she noted, recording everything with her wrist device, "but surprisingly sturdy for their basic materials." A young boy ran up to the aliens before his mother could stop him. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Nick Sveer held up her hand to stop them. She knelt down, studying the child with genuine curiosity. "Hello," said the boy. "Are you going to hurt us?" Nick Sveer tilted her head. The translator in her ear converted the simple words. "That depends on your people," she answered honestly. The boy frowned. "My dad says if you try, you'll be sorry." The mother rushed forward, grabbing her son and pulling him away with fearful apologies. Nick Sveer stood, making a note. Even their young show no fear, only defiance. On the Accelerant command ship, Captain Drazkar reviewed the preliminary reports with growing irritation. "These assessment teams are taking too long," he growled. "We should begin the standard conquest protocol immediately." His military advisor pointed to a screen showing human news broadcasts. "The humans are making no preparations for war, Captain. They continue their normal activities. They seem to believe diplomacy will work." Drazkar laughed. "Fools, prepare the first wave of attack ships." In reality, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Carter and Colonel Hughes watched as engineers transformed mining equipment into weapons. "Will these work against their shields?" Carter asked, examining a modified industrial laser. Dr. Gregory Price, a scientist who normally designed tools for Mars colonies, nodded. "Based on what we've observed of their energy signatures, yes. Not as well as proper military weapons, but we have thousands of these across our mining operations." Nearby, NASA Director Olivia Martinez supervised as technicians reprogrammed weather satellites. "We can use these to disrupt their communications," she explained. "It won't stop them, but it might confuse them long enough to matter." Colonel Hughes studied the maps showing Accelerant positions. "They're following textbook invasion patterns. Very organized, very predictable." "That's good for us?" asked Commander Dawson. "Very good," Hughes smiled. "They expect us to either surrender immediately or fight conventionally. They're not prepared for anything else." In Geneva, Lisa Hoffman continued daily communications with Accelerants, asking detailed questions about their empire, their needs, and their integration processes. "You ask many questions," the Accelerant diplomat said, his tone suspicious. Lisa smiled warmly. "We want to be good imperial subjects. The more we understand, the smoother the transition will be." Each conversation provided valuable intelligence that she passed directly to military and scientific teams. On day 10 of the assessment, Nick Sveer submitted her final report to Captain Drazkar. Her findings troubled her. "Captain, I have concerns about these humans," she said carefully. "What concerns could you possibly have about primitives?" he asked, barely looking up from his battle plans. "3 things, Captain. First, they adapt quickly to different environments. Second, their entire entertainment system is built around stories of overcoming impossible odds. And third," she hesitated, "they seem to be hiding something." Drazkar finally looked at her. "Explain." "Their visible military preparations are minimal, as expected, but their key scientific and military personnel have disappeared from public view, and their diplomat asks questions that suggest a deeper understanding of warfare than they should have." The captain waved his hand dismissively. "All species try to hide things before conquest. It never helps them." As Nick Sveer left the bridge, she wondered if the captain's confidence was misplaced. The humans were unlike any species they had conquered before. In her research of Earth's history, one fact stood out. Humans were at their most dangerous not when they were strong, but when they appeared weak and cornered. President Walsh addressed the United Nations in a closed session. The Accelerants will attack soon. They believe we are unprepared. She paused, looking at the assembled world leaders. Let them believe that, while we finalize Operation Hornet's Nest. Around the room, grim faces nodded in agreement. For the first time in human history, all nations stood truly united against a common threat. 3 months had passed since the alien ships first appeared in Earth's sky. People tried to continue their normal lives, but fear hung in the air like a storm cloud. Everyone had seen the massive Accelerant warships that now surrounded their planet. 20 battleships in total, each one capable of destroying entire cities. Captain Drazkar stood on his bridge, 4 arms crossed over his chest as he glared at the blue planet on his screen. His patience had run out. Enough of this delay, he announced to his officers. Send the ultimatum. Minutes later, every electronic device on Earth received the same message. People of Earth, you have 7 days to formally surrender and begin integration into the Accelerant Empire. After this deadline, we will demonstrate our power by destroying your largest city. This is not negotiable. In the underground command center, President Walsh watched the message with a grim face. She turned to her advisors. Are we ready? Admiral Carter nodded. Operation Hornet's Nest is in place. All modified satellites are positioned. Dr. Price's weapons are distributed globally. And the evacuation plans? The President asked. Major cities are quietly emptying, Colonel Hughes reported. People are being moved to underground shelters and rural areas. We're making it look like normal traffic to avoid alerting the Accelerants. President Walsh took a deep breath. Then it's time. She stepped before a camera to address the world. Her speech was simple but powerful, calling for courage and unity in humanity's darkest hour. What she didn't mention in the public address was Operation Hornet's Nest, the plan to use humanity's seeming weakness as its greatest weapon. Lisa Hoffman spoke with the Accelerant representatives one final time. Please, she said, her voice carefully controlled to show just enough fear. We need more time to prepare our people for integration. The deadline is fixed. The Accelerant diplomat replied coldly. 7 Earth days. Lisa nodded submissively. We understand. May I ask one final question about your fleet positioning? It would help us prepare our surrender properly. The Accelerant, believing victory was assured, answered her questions in detail. Lisa recorded everything, her eyes showing nothing of her true thoughts. On a secret base in Wyoming, Dr. Gregory Price worked with his team around the clock. Mining lasers had been modified into weapons. Medical nanobots had been reprogrammed for other purposes. Everything was ready. Will it be enough? Asked a young engineer. Dr. Price looked up from his work. By themselves, no, but we don't fight alone. Commander Frank Dawson led a team of pilots on what looked like a routine patrol near Mars. In reality, they were placing stealth satellites at key points throughout the solar system. These satellites contained no weapons, only specialized communication devices. Final satellite in position, reported one pilot. Dawson nodded. Good. Now we wait. As the deadline approached, the Accelerants detected increased movement around Earth's major cities. Captain Drazkar watched with satisfaction. They flee in panic, he told his officers, as all species do before our might. Scientific officer Nick Sveer wasn't convinced. Captain, this movement is too organized for panic, and our sensors detect unusual energy signatures from their satellites. Minor details, said Drazkar. Their primitive technology is no threat to us. On the final day of the ultimatum, Captain Drazkar opened a channel to Earth. Your time has expired. What is your answer? President Walsh stood tall, surrounded by military and scientific leaders from around the world. Her response was not what the Accelerant expected. We have considered your demand, she said calmly. Our answer is this. We warned you. Drazkar blinked all 4 eyes in confusion. You warned us. Of what? Instead of answering, President Walsh nodded to Admiral Carter, who pressed a button on his console. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, thousands of previously hidden devices activated simultaneously. Weather satellites changed position, mining stations powered up modified equipment, and every communication screen on every Accelerant ship suddenly displayed the same message. You should have run. Captain Drazkar had just enough time to feel the first flicker of uncertainty before the humans launched their attack. An attack unlike anything the Accelerant Empire had faced in 12,000 years of conquest. Captain Drazkar gave the order without hesitation. Begin the attack. Target their major defense installations first. Across Earth's sky, Accelerant warships moved into position, their energy weapons powered up, glowing with an eerie purple light that could be seen even in daylight. Within seconds, devastating beams struck toward major military bases and government buildings. But something strange happened. Many of the beams hit nothing important. Empty buildings, abandoned bases, decoy targets. "Captain," reported a confused officer, "the primary targets are not where our intelligence indicated." Drazkar slammed his fist on the control panel. "Find them. The humans cannot hide entire military bases." But the humans had done exactly that. For 3 months, they had been moving key assets to underground bunkers and disguised orbital platforms. What looked like civilian mining stations were actually military command posts. What appeared to be communication satellites contained weapons. Admiral Carter watched from his mobile command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. "Operation Slingshot begins now," he ordered. Across the solar system, small ships appeared from hiding places. They looked like ordinary mining vessels, approaching the Accelerant warships with signals indicating surrender. The Accelerants, following standard protocol, allowed these ships to come close. It was exactly what the humans wanted. Dr. Price's voice came through the communication system. "EMP devices ready. Admiral." "Activate," Carter commanded. The seemingly harmless human ships suddenly emitted powerful electromagnetic pulses designed specifically to target Accelerant shield frequencies. 3 Imperial battleships went dark, their systems temporarily disabled. On his flagship, Captain Drazkar watched in disbelief as the screen showed his ships going offline. Impossible. Their technology should not be capable of this. Scientific Officer Nick Sveer rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, they've been studying us." The questions their diplomat asked. They were gathering intelligence on our systems. Before Drazkar could respond, a new alert sounded. Something was attacking their life support systems. Specialized nanobots, originally designed for medical purposes, had infiltrated their ships through ventilation systems. The bots weren't lethal, but they caused chaos, disrupting equipment and communication. At the same time, Earth's modified weather control satellites generated radiation bursts that confused Imperial targeting systems. "Sir," a panicked officer reported, "we're receiving unauthorized commands on our communication channels. Someone is broadcasting using Imperial codes." This was Lisa Hoffman's contribution. During months of diplomatic talks, she had carefully noted command phrases and codes the Accelerants used. Now, Earth's communication experts used these to create confusion in the Imperial fleet. The Accelerants fought back hard. Despite the human tactics, their weapons were still vastly superior. Beams of energy destroyed cities and military installations that couldn't be hidden. Millions of humans died in these first attacks. But the damage to the Imperial fleet was unprecedented. 5 battleships were completely destroyed. 7 more were heavily damaged. In the underground command center, President Walsh received the casualty reports with a heavy heart. "The cost is terrible," she said quietly. "But we're still fighting." Admiral Carter reminded her. "No species has ever destroyed even 1 Imperial battleship before. We've taken out 5. Colonel Hughes pointed to the display showing the battle. "Their formations are breaking down. They've never faced an enemy that fought like this. They don't know how to respond." On his damaged bridge, Captain Drazkar wiped blue blood from a cut on his face. Fires burned around him as crew members fought to regain control of their systems. His communication officer called out, "Sir, Imperial High Command is demanding a status report." Drazkar stared at the screen showing the continuing human attacks, small ships darting between his larger vessels, repurposed mining lasers cutting through Imperial armor, tactics that followed no recognizable military doctrine he had ever studied. "Sir," the officer prompted again, "what should I tell High Command?" Captain Drazkar took a deep breath. In 12,000 years of Imperial history, no commander had ever had to report such a failure. "Tell them." He hesitated, then straightened his shoulders. "Tell them these humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't follow any patterns we know. They don't stop." As he spoke, his tactical display showed more human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system, ready for the next wave of attacks. 3 weeks into the war, the sky above Earth changed again. 50 new Xelaran warships appeared, bigger and more advanced than the first wave. At their center was a massive command ship that dwarfed all others. High Admiral Xenxus stood on its bridge, his decorated uniform showing his 3 centuries of perfect victories. His 6 fingers tapped impatiently on the control panel as he studied the battle reports. "Captain Drazkar," he said, his voice cold with disappointment, "explain how these primitives have destroyed our ships." Drazkar, now demoted but still valuable for his experience with humans, bowed his head. "They don't fight like other species, Admiral. They use tricks and unexpected tactics. Then we will use new weapons they cannot expect," Xenxus replied. He turned to his officers. "Deploy the adaptive shield technology and prepare the biological weapons." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Walsh formally declared war on the Xelaran Empire. It was a historic moment, the first time any species had officially declared war rather than simply being conquered. "We did not want this conflict," she said to the cameras broadcasting to surviving human settlements. "But we will end it." In his mobile command center, Admiral Carter coordinated humanity's next phase of defense. "Their reinforcements are stronger than the first wave," he told his officers. "We need to change tactics." Commander Dawson pointed to a map showing Xelaran positions. "We can't fight them directly. We need to hit their supply lines and communication relays." Carter nodded. "Guerrilla warfare in space." Dr. Samantha Wells worked in what had once been a peaceful medical research lab. Now she led a team developing another unconventional weapon. "The biological agent is ready," she told Colonel Hughes. "It won't kill the Xelarans, but it will make them very sick for a few days." Hughes nodded. "That's all we need. Just enough time to disrupt their operations." Using captured Xelaran shuttles, they deployed the agent to Imperial ships through their air filtration systems. Within days, thousands of Xelaran soldiers and officers fell ill with symptoms that, while not fatal, made operating their advanced technology nearly impossible. High Admiral Xenxus was furious as reports of sick crew members flooded in. "How are they doing this? Their technology is primitive." Scientific Officer Nick Sveer, now assigned to his fleet, spoke carefully. "Sir, their technology may be less advanced, but they adapt extremely quickly. Each time we develop a countermeasure, they have a new tactic within days." Xenxus executed 2 of his officers for incompetence, believing it would motivate the others. Instead, it created fear that made his command structure less effective. Exactly what Colonel Hughes had predicted when planning the psychological operations. Lisa Hoffman, working from a hidden base in Australia, coordinated with new allies. Several alien species, long conquered by the Xelarans, had begun small rebellions after seeing humans successfully resist the Empire. "Your fight gives us hope," said a representative from a world that had been under Imperial control for centuries. "We will share what we know about their technology." This new intelligence proved invaluable, helping humans target specific weaknesses in Xelaran systems. As the conflict intensified, High Admiral Xenxus realized something troubling. These humans were learning from every encounter. Each battle made them more dangerous, not less. The Empire's standard tactic of overwhelming force wasn't working. In a secure communication to the Emperor, Xanxus reported, "These humans are unlike any species we have conquered. They fight with desperation, but also with unexpected cleverness. They turn their weaknesses into strengths." The Emperor's response was immediate and severe. "Failure is not acceptable. Deploy the planet killer weapon. End this resistance now." Xanxus stared at the order in shock. Planet killers were reserved for only the most dangerous threats. Using one on such a primitive world was unprecedented. But orders were orders. "Prepare the solar flare inducer," he commanded. "Target their star." In Earth's command center, the news hit like a physical blow. Their intelligence network had intercepted the order. "They're going to make our sun flare," Dr. Price explained, his voice shaking. "It would sterilize the entire system." President Walsh looked at the grim faces around her. "How long do we have?" 3 days until the weapon arrives," Admiral Carter answered. "Not enough time to evacuate everyone to the deep shelters." Commander Dawson stepped forward. "Then we need a new plan. Something they won't expect." His eyes lit up with a dangerous idea. "What if we take the fight to them?" The massive planet killer weapon moved slowly toward Earth's solar system. It looked like a small moon, covered with strange technology that glowed with purple energy. Its purpose was simple and terrible: to create solar flares that would destroy all life in the system. High Admiral Xanxus watched its progress on his main screen. 2 days until it reaches firing position. He reported to the Emperor. Then this human problem will be solved forever. What Xanxus didn't know was that across the Empire, something unprecedented was happening. Other conquered species, inspired by human resistance, had begun fighting back. Small rebellions erupted on dozens of worlds. For the first time in its history, the Xeloran Empire was fighting wars on multiple fronts. On Earth, Dr. Price burst into the command center, his eyes wide with excitement. "I've done it. I understand their faster-than-light technology." Admiral Carter looked up from battle plans. "Can we use it?" "Yes," Dr. Price explained. "We can modify our newest ship to make a jump directly to the Xeloran home system." The room fell silent. No one had considered taking the fight directly to the heart of the Empire. Carter turned to Commander Dawson. "Frank, I need volunteers for a mission with little chance of return." Dawson stood straight. "I volunteer to lead it, sir." While Earth prepared for this desperate mission, Lisa Hoffman established contact with representatives from worlds rebelling against the Empire. "We can share Imperial defense codes," said one alien leader through a secure channel, "and weaknesses in their technology. And we can provide what you need most," Lisa replied. "Hope, proof that the Empire can be fought." This new alliance gave humans crucial intelligence about the Xeloran homeworld, intelligence that Commander Dawson would need. President Walsh ordered the evacuation of as many people as possible to underground shelters and the Europa colony. But everyone knew the truth. Most of humanity would die if the planet killer weapon fired. "How many can we save?" she asked her advisors. "Perhaps 20%, came the grim answer. "The shelters can't hold more." Walsh nodded slowly. "Then we put our faith in Operation Lighthouse." On the launch pad, the EDS Defiance prepared for its mission. The ship was Earth's newest vessel, now modified with Dr. Price's adaptation of Xeloran technology. Commander Dawson addressed his volunteer crew of 20. "Our mission is simple but nearly impossible. We will jump directly to the Xeloran home system and deliver a message they can't ignore." A young officer raised her hand. "What if they destroy us before we can deliver it?" Dawson smiled grimly. "That's why the message is the ship itself. Our very presence in their home system will prove what humans are capable of." Colonel Hughes led Earth's remaining military forces in what looked like a desperate, all-out attack on the Xeloran fleet. Ships and weapons that had been hidden were now thrown into battle with seemingly no strategy. High Admiral Xanxus watched with satisfaction. "They've abandoned their clever tactics. Desperation has made them foolish." Scientific Officer Nick Sphere wasn't convinced. "Sir, This doesn't match their previous behavior. Why would they suddenly attack directly? Because they know they're beaten, Xenxus replied confidently. But the attack was a diversion. While the Accelerants focused on Earth's forces, the EDS Defiance slipped away from the battle. Using the modified technology, it made an impossible jump, directly to the heart of the Acceleran Empire. The Defiance appeared in orbit around the Acceleran homeworld, shocking the Imperial Defense Forces. Before they could react, Commander Dawson broadcast a message to every communication device on all 17 core worlds. People of the Acceleran Empire, we warned you to run. Now observe why. The message continued with detailed plans of human weapons designed specifically to target Acceleran biological weaknesses. It showed how quickly humans could adapt their technology. Most shocking of all, the Defiance demonstrated its mastery of Acceleran FTL technology by performing a series of jumps within the system that should have been impossible for such a primitive species. Dawson's final message was clear. Unlike you, we don't want conquest. Return to your worlds, recall your forces, and we can both live in peace. Continue this war, and we will be forced to show you why every human child knows the story of David and Goliath. For the first time in the history of the Acceleran Empire, the Emperor called for direct negotiations with an undefeated species. The news spread quickly across 12 galaxies. The unbeatable Empire had met its match in humans. A neutral location was chosen, a space station orbiting Jupiter's moon Ganymede. As the Acceleran shuttle approached, Captain Drazkar looked out the window at the gas giant below. He had come full circle, returning to where this conflict began. I never thought I would return here to talk peace, he said quietly to Scientific Officer Nick Sphere, who sat beside him. These humans are unlike any species we've encountered, she replied. They've earned our respect. High Admiral Xenxus, leading the Imperial delegation, said nothing. His pride was wounded by the order to negotiate rather than conquer. The human team arrived led by Lisa Hoffman, now recognized as the foremost expert on Acceleran culture. Admiral Carter and Colonel Hughes came as military advisors, while Dr. Price and Dr. Wells represented the scientific community. President Walsh addressed them before they left Earth. Our goal is peace, not humiliation. We want to end this war, not start another one. Lisa nodded. I understand, Madam President. We'll find a path forward. When the two delegations met in the station's conference room, tension filled the air. High Admiral Xenxus began with formal Imperial protocol, stating the Empire's position, as if they were still in control. Lisa listened patiently, then responded not with the expected fear or anger, but with genuine curiosity. Admiral, we want to understand your empire better. And we hope you want to understand us. What followed was something the Empire had never experienced before, a genuine exchange of ideas rather than demands of surrender. Dr. Price and Nick Sphere found common ground discussing technology. Your adaptation speed is remarkable, Nick Sphere admitted. Our scientists estimate you advanced your military technology by nearly a century in just months of conflict. Necessity drives innovation, Dr. Price replied simply. Dr. Wells explained to confused Acceleran medical officers why humans hadn't deployed lethal biological weapons when they had the chance. Because we are better than that, she said. We wanted to stop you, not destroy you. This concept, showing restraint when victory was possible, confused the Accelerans deeply. On the third day of talks, High Admiral Xenxus asked the question that had bothered him since the humans appeared in the Imperial home system. Your ship could have attacked our homeworld. Why didn't you? Admiral Carter answered, because we don't want your worlds. We just want to live in peace. But you knew we would destroy your planet, Xenxus pressed. You had every reason to seek revenge. Revenge solves nothing, Carter said. It would just continue the cycle of violence. After a week of negotiations, something unprecedented in Imperial history happened. A treaty of mutual recognition and peace. The Empire agreed to reform its conquest protocols and consider diplomatic relations with other species. As the documents were signed, humans became recognized across the galaxies as a paradoxical species, technically less advanced but practically undefeatable. Other species saw alliances with these strange beings who warned their enemies to run rather than boasting of their power. During the formal ceremony ratifying the treaty, Captain Drazkar approached Admiral Carter privately. "There's something I don't understand," he said. "You could have destroyed us. Why show restraint?" Carter smiled slightly. "Throughout our history, humans have learned one consistent lesson. Those who only know conquest never truly understand power. True strength isn't in how hard you can hit, but in knowing when not to strike at all." The captain considered this. "Your species is strange, Admiral, but perhaps we have much to learn from you." 1 year later, Lisa Hoffman stood on the observation deck of the Peace Station with Nick Sphere, watching Earth shine in the distance. Ships from dozens of species now visited regularly, exchanging knowledge and culture. "The Accelerant word for human has been officially changed," Nick Sphere mentioned. "It used to translate as prey. Now it means teacher." Lisa smiled. "Perhaps our greatest contribution to the universe isn't our ability to fight when cornered, but our insistence that there must be a better way forward." As they spoke, a new ship appeared, using the faster-than-light technology the humans and Accelerants had improved together. It carried representatives from a newly discovered world, coming to join the growing community of peaceful species. The warning that had once echoed across space, "Run," had transformed into an invitation, "Join us."